and also welcome our guests on the broadcast. Joining us at this moment is Savio Rodriguez. He is the chief editor of Goa Chronicle. Binay Singh, who's a political analyst. Aniket Nikam, he's an advocate. Savio Rodriguez, of course, and I introduced him. Swapnil Kothari, who is again a senior lawyer and is continuing to stay with us on this broadcast. And of course, Rajlakshmi Joshi as well, who's a political analyst. Savio, if I can come to you first. You would remember Ria's interview to a friendly channel where when she was asked about Pithani confessing to the CBI that there was a clean out of certain hard drives that were removed from Sushant's house on the 8th of June, and this is something that Ria was coordinating, Ria had refuted those allegations and she had said that I am willing to confront Pithani on this. Nothing like this had happened. Now, as far as Pithani's current statement is concerned, this is once again matching what those close to Sushant have said, be it the testimonies that have been given to Republic or also Smita Prakash, who's also said that post Disha's death, Sushant had feared for his life. At a time, Savio now, when those same channels are also trying to push reports saying that the agency is ruling out the murder angle and not much has been found on this front, with the kind of details that are emerging now, it is so important that Ria must be questioned on all these details. And it is very important how she's being questioned by the NCB right now. The other agencies working together on this case must also question her on all this.
You know, I'd like to make 3 points. The first important point is that the Disha Salian case and the Sushant Rajput case are connected. Let me also very categorically state that from all evidence coming out from what the CBI is telling the media and from the investigations done by certain sections of the media, particularly Republic TV, it clearly appears to be murder and not suicide in both the cases. Now, it is evident that there is a cover-up happening. Ria Chakrabarti is a pawn in this cover-up. The other important person that needs to be interrogated by CBI immediately is Sandeep Singh, because Sandeep Singh is very, very crucial to every block in these mysteries that are happening around. Disha and Sushant died because they were privy to some serious information involving serious people in Bollywood and in politics. Now, the CBI and the investigation agencies are clinically working towards putting this case together. It does not matter what the fake media has to say about the case. What matters is the truth.
Yes.
And the truth will come out eventually.
Absolutely. And Binay Singh, I want to come to you.
Because they have to have a case.
Because, Savio, it's also very important to talk about this particular conversation that Shravan has had with Rashmi. Also, Binay Singh, I don't understand why all these people have been quiet until now, because they say that they were best friends. Now, Rashmi says that she was very close friends with Disha. She may not have spoken to her in the past 7 to 8 months, but she spoke to her a day before her death. She's also put out a post where she's written details about a Zoom party that had happened and how she had attended that party. She says that Disha was full of life. And the fact that when as best friends they got this news that it was a suicide and Disha had taken her life, why have they not come out until now and given details, be it on Rohan Rai, be it on when they were last in touch with Disha, on who gave them the news that Disha had passed away? Were all these people talking to each other? Who are the key players? Because our investigation is slowly bringing them out. Their role is coming to light. But why haven't they spoken up?
Look, I am not talking about a very Superman kind of investigation. A very simple points I want to make, which a class KG student can also understand. A very simple thing I would like to make. what Rasmi Desai has just told in her interview with Savan Sen simply proves that Disha Salian was a super energy charged powerhouse personality, and definitely that kind of personality couldn't have committed suicide. The second point I would like to make, the way the case, the Sushant Singh case, was tried to be covered up from the very first day by top officials, politicians, that simply proved that there was some foul play or there was something dal mein kala type of thing. And the third point I would like to make, that the Mumbai police, in most of the cases, we blame the police that they were reluctant, they are not taking interest in the case. But in Sushant Singh murder case and Disha Salian case, Mumbai police was not reluctant, but they were active, they were super active, they were proactive in destroying the evidence and in putting the whole investigation on a different track. The very first day, they didn't took interest in what the case was. They very proactively tried to put it in a dustbin by conveying that, or by trying to forcefully convey that it was a case of suicide. It is nothing other than suicide, and there was no other thing other than suicide. So the main thing, that the motto of the Mumbai police, that also should be taken into consideration, that what were the reasons, what were the external factors which pressurized the Mumbai police, the commissioner of police, to cover such a case in which so many things are coming out. What was the reason? Very simple points I would like to make, and there is not a rocket science that what has actually happened. There was definitely a foul play, and each and every
Aniket, if we can talk about this, because when it comes to allegations against the Mumbai police over evidence that was tampered, of how they didn't get into the depth of the investigation and how the investigation was botched up. See, all these details are once again highlighting towards that. And even when you see the key players in this case, the same names that are emerging again and again of conversations that have happened between them between the 8th of June and 13th of June, be it Uday Singh Gauri, be it Riya Chakrabarti, be it Siddharth Pithani. Siddharth Pithani, of course, has now cracked opened all these details, and he's now speaking about what Sushant had told him. But you see, the characters are all the same, and it is only about a deeper investigation and more pressure on all of them that the truth will be revealed, and that is why this pressure is all the more important. Aniket.
Certainly, yes. If you remember, see, even the scene of offence in respect of Sushant Singh's case was not preserved in the manner in which it should have been. The post-mortem report did not contain the time of death. So there were too many loopholes, and that is why when the Supreme Court transferred this investigation to CBI, Supreme Court said that the faith of common man must be preserved in any investigating agency. And looking at the affairs of that case, the case is being transferred to CBI. Now, having said this, we have just played out the gist of what Pithani had said to CBI. Now, all the while, there was a story maintained that Sushant Singh Rajput has committed suicide due to depression and for other mental illness reasons. But now what he says to CBI, now the gist of Pithani's statement, which you have disclosed to your viewers, it seems that Pithani clearly stated to the investigating agency that after Sushant Singh Rajput came to know that Disha Salian has died, he was shocked. He went in shock, he collapsed, he went unconscious, and when he resumed his consciousness, he was scared of his life. Therefore, there was certain connection between death of Sushant Singh Rajput and death of Disha Salian, and this is the main angle which the investigating agency must look into, because behind the reasons of death of Sushant Singh Rajput lies the reasons behind the death of Disha Salian, and both are certainly hand in gloves.
And you know, Rajlakshmi, it is not just about Sushant and Disha being privy to certain details that may have led to what took their lives, but clearly other players, to how it now looks, were privy to those details as well. Be it Riya Chakrabarti, be it Uday Singh Gauri, Siddharth Pithani. Of course, we don't know. We can't confirm at this point unless and until the agencies come out with a concrete statement. We are only talking about whatever details have come to light until now. And it is very clear that if it is Sushant and Disha who knew something, people around them were also privy to the same details probably, and it is only a matter of time until they speak up. Rajlakshmi.
Yes, a lot of people are privy to a lot of information, and it is very obvious that a lot of big names are involved in the entire case. Whether it is about the Sushant Singh Rajput case, and again linked to the Disha Salian murder also. Yes, I would call it a murder now, because both of them are obviously, they are murdered and they have been murdered, and it was just a case of brushing them under the carpet. So a lot of big names have definitely involved in this, and which is why it is not surprising that any of the people who are close to them will not come out with all these details on their own. But then at the same time, there are these things called call details, the CDR, which is something that is easily accessible to the police. So they should have been able to see that, at least on the basis of this, that this is a time when people are in lockdown, and that a lot of we don't have too much of movement. So it is not like you have to track somebody's movement from one place to the other. At least the least you can do is you can track the call records.
Right.
How difficult is that? How difficult is that to establish that this person has spoken to this person, and these are the kind of conversations that they have had, and this must be the reason, and this is what these are the significant people whom you need to be investigating. So it is not some kind of a rocket science. So definitely, there was a lot of information that was there with a lot of people, but they're not coming out with it only because
that the Mumbai police should have done long ago, and which is why fingers are being raised at them. Swapnil, you want to make a point? Please quickly make your point also. I would just want to say one thing, that, Swapnil, a lot of debates are being held at this point as to why Riya is being kept in custody. Of course, we leave it to the agencies and the courts on how this investigation is heading and what is decided. But one thing is very clear. Riya needs to be questioned, and all these characters who are constantly emerging as a part of this investigation need to be questioned properly. So whether it is the NCV now questioning Riya, or then the CBI or the ED has already questioned Riya in the past, it should be left to the agencies and the courts to how this investigation is continuing, and not peddle a narrative saying why is it that Riya is being kept in custody. Swapnil.
Well, they need to understand one thing, that the law is very clear on this. The CRPC is very clear that for any arrest made for an offence which is less than 10 years, you have 60 days maximum custody and 90 days for anything over 10 years. 27A of the NDPS Act talks about a sentence between 10 years and 20 years which has been levied on Riya Chakraborty. So she can be kept in custody up until 90 days. I'm not saying that she will be, but I'm just saying that is the law. So, the law will take its own course and the courts will decide. I'm sure that, the Bombay High Court will not grant her bail. Because it doesn't sound like it, because it's very obvious that there are 3 reasons why you grant a bail. You will not tamper with the evidence, you will cooperate with the investigating agency, and you will not be a flight risk. So as far as tampering of the evidence is concerned, that will be the main worry, and I don't think that the Bombay High Court will go into details about as to if the 2 lower agencies, that is the lower court and then the Sessions Court, have both come to a conclusion that she should not be granted bail. That should answer their query. Now, second point, one of the very important points that I wanted to make very quickly is that Rashmi Desai was, when asked about Rohan Rai, initially she was about to say something, but then she stopped. If you see, that pause was very pregnant there, and she said that I don't want to make any comments. So I think that needs to be investigated further, because I'm sure she's aware of something much more. She may not be aware of, she may be telling the truth about the holding of the party, but the very fact that she's not questioning the suicide, and she's saying that, the way she put it, that I'm shocked at how she did this. That you just had your birthday party before. How she did this, that means she's trying to peddle the narrative of a suicide. If you know the person so well, and if she's a close friend of yours, you need to know whether she's in a position to commit suicide or not. So, those things don't match up. I mean, it's very superficial there. I don't think I'll take that statement for Faisal, and I'm sure Shravan did not take it either.
Absolutely, it just doesn't add up, and which is why all the more important that all these new names that are emerging must be questioned, and of course those who are already being questioned by the agencies. On that note, I want to thank all our guests for joining us on the broadcast.